Hello and welcome to Quiz Time. I'm Jess, and today I have 100 trivia questions for you. So there's some fun ones in here. Let's go. Which sitcom featured the catchphrase, "No soup for you"? Friends, Seinfeld, or Cheers? That's Seinfeld. Who sang the 1983 hit Total Eclipse of the Heart? Madonna, Pat Benatar, or Bonnie Tyler? Bonnie Tyler. In the film The Graduate, what one word of career advice is given to Dustin Hoffman's character? Plastics, computers, or finance? Plastics. Which band's album, Rumours, became one of the best-selling albums of all time after its 1977 release? The Eagles, Fleetwood Mac, or Led Zeppelin? Fleetwood Mac. What was the name of the family dog on the TV show The Brady Bunch? Rover, Tiger, or Spot? Tiger. Which actor played the lead role in both Dirty Harry and The Good, the Bad and the Ugly? Clint Eastwood, Charles Bronson, or Steve McQueen? Clint Eastwood. What song by The Police contains the lyrics, "I'll send an SOS to the world"? Roxanne, Every Breath You Take, or Message in a Bottle? Yes, the classic Message in a Bottle. Which TV game show host was known for telling contestants to come on down? Alex Trebek, Bob Barker, or Pat Sajak? Bob Barker. In the original Star Wars trilogy, who revealed to Luke Skywalker that he was his father? Obi-Wan Kenobi, Emperor Palpatine, or Darth Vader? Darth Vader. What was Madonna's first Billboard hit in the US? Like a Virgin, Material Girl, or Lucky Star? Like a Virgin. Which rock band featured Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend? Led Zeppelin, The Who, or the Rolling Stones? The Who. In the film Jaws, what holiday weekend does the shark attack occur? Memorial Day, 4th of July, or Labor Day? 4th of July. Which TV show featured the character Hawkeye Pierce? MASH, ER, or St. Elsewhere? MASH. What was Elvis Presley's first hit on the Billboard charts? Blue Suede Shoes, Heartbreak Hotel, or Jailhouse Rock? Heartbreak Hotel. Which British comedian created the character Mr. Bean? John Cleese, Rowan Atkinson, or Ricky Gervais? That's Rowan Atkinson. What was the name of the bar in the TV show Cheers? The Cork, McGinty's, or Cheers? That was Cheers. Which actor played Rocky Balboa in the Rocky film series? Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, or Dolph Lundgren? Sylvester Stallone. What band performed the hit song Hotel California? Fleetwood Mac, the Eagles, or the Doors? The Eagles. Which actor starred as Tony Soprano in The Sopranos? Ray Liotta, James Gandolfini, or Robert De Niro? James Gandolfini. What dance craze swept the nation after the 1960 hit song Chubby Checker? The Hustle, the Twist, or the Mashed Potato? It was the Twist. What was the name of the first satellite launched into orbit by the Soviet Union in 1957? Explorer, Vostok, or Sputnik? Sputnik. Who was the US president during the Cuban Missile Crisis? Lyndon B. Johnson, John F. Kennedy, or Richard Nixon? John F. Kennedy. What year did the Berlin Wall fall? 1991, 1989, or 1985? 1989. Which world leader was known as the Iron Lady? Angela Merkel, Margaret Thatcher, or Indira Gandhi? Yep, the picture gave it away, the formidable Margaret Thatcher. What was the name of the NASA program that put the first humans on the moon? Gemini, Apollo, or Mercury? Apollo. Which US president resigned as a result of the Watergate scandal? Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, or Richard Nixon? Richard Nixon. What year did MTV launch? 1985, 1981, or 1979? 1981. What was the final destination of the ill-fated maiden voyage of the Titanic? London, Boston, or New York? It was supposed to get to New York. Which company introduced the first personal computer with a graphical user interface in 1984? IBM, Apple, or Microsoft? Apple. What significant economic event occurred on Black Monday in October 1987? The banking collapse, stock market crash, or oil crisis? It was the stock market crash. What war involved the Tet Offensive in 1968? Korean War, Vietnam War, or Gulf War? The Vietnam War. Which European country was ruled by Francisco Franco from 1939 to 1975? Portugal, Italy, or Spain? That was Spain. What was the name of the nuclear power plant that experienced a catastrophic accident in Ukraine in 1986? 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, or Fukushima? It was Chernobyl. Which musical event in 1969 featured Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin? Monterey Pop Festival, Woodstock, or Isle of Wight Festival? Woodstock. What was the name of the first commercial passenger supersonic aircraft? Concorde, Boeing 747, or Tupolev Tu-144? Given away in the pictures, yes, it was the Concorde. Which world leader instituted perestroika in the 1980s? Boris Yeltsin, Mikhail Gorbachev, or Leonid Brezhnev? It was Mikhail Gorbachev. What event is commonly known as the British invasion of the 1960s? UK military action, European Economic Alliance, or British rock bands becoming popular in America? Yes, there are British rock bands becoming popular in America. What disease was declared globally eradicated by the World Health Organization in 1980? Polio, smallpox, or tuberculosis? That was smallpox. Which famous civil rights leader delivered the I Have a Dream speech? Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., or Jesse Jackson? Martin Luther King Jr. What year did the World Wide Web become publicly available? 1995, 1989, or 1991? 1991. Which boxer was known as the greatest and famously declared, I float like a butterfly, sting like a bee? Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali, or Mike Tyson? Muhammad Ali. What year did the first Super Bowl take place? 1970, 1967, or 1964? 1967. Which country hosted the 1980 Summer Olympics that the United States boycotted? China, Soviet Union, or East Germany? Soviet Union. What was the name of the horse that won the Triple Crown in 1973, ending a 25-year drought? Seattle Slew, Secretariat, or Citation? Secretariat. Which tennis player won 18 Grand Slam singles titles and is known for the Battle of the Sexes match? Chris Evert, Margaret Court, or Billie Jean King? Billie Jean King. What team did Michael Jordan play for when he won his 6 NBA championships? Chicago Bulls, Los Angeles Lakers, or Boston Celtics? Chicago Bulls. Who was the first gymnast to score a perfect 10 in Olympic competition? Mary Lou Retton, Nadia Comaneci, or Olga Korbut? Nadia Comaneci. Which Major League Baseball player broke Babe Ruth's home run record in 1974? Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, or Hank Aaron? Hank Aaron. What sport is associated with the Stanley Cup? Basketball, ice hockey, or tennis? That's ice hockey. Which boxer defeated Muhammad Ali in the fight of the century in 1971? George Foreman, Joe Frazier, or Ken Norton? Joe Frazier. What team did Wayne Gretzky play for when he set most of his NHL records? Los Angeles Kings, Edmonton Oilers, or New York Rangers? Edmonton Oilers. Which Olympic sport did Bruce Jenner, now Caitlyn Jenner, win gold in the 1976 Olympics? Decathlon, marathon, or swimming? It was the decathlon. What golfer is nicknamed the Golden Bear? Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, or Gary Player? Jack Nicklaus. Which American swimmer won 7 gold medals at the 1972 Olympics? Michael Phelps, Mark Spitz, or Ian Thorpe? Mark Spitz. What year did the first modern Olympic Games take place? 1900s, 1884, or 1896? 1896. What was the name of the first personal computer to feature a mouse and graphical user interface? IBM PC, Apple Macintosh, or Commodore 64? Apple Macintosh. Did you have one of those? Which home video format won the format war against Betamax in the 1980s? Laserdisc, VHS, or DVD? Yeah, VHS. I've still got some of those kicking around somewhere. What revolutionary product did Sony first release in 1979 that changed how people listened to music? CD player, Walkman, or boombox? The Sony Walkman, to listen to music while you walk. What was the name of the first test tube baby born in 1978? Louise Brown, Mary Smith, or Jane Doe? Louise Brown. What was the first commercially successful portable cellular phone? Nokia 3310, Motorola Dynatac, or BlackBerry? Oh yes, Motorola Dynatac. Which planet was downgraded from its status as a planet in our solar system in 2006? Mercury, Pluto, or Neptune? Yep, Pluto has now been classified as a dwarf planet. What 1982 science fiction film featured an alien who wanted to phone home? Close Encounters of the Third Kind, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, or Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan? Yes, E.T. the Extraterrestrial. First film I remember in the cinema. What was the name of the sheep that became the first cloned mammal in 1996? Daisy, Dolly, or Molly? Yeah, Dolly the sheep. What technology replaced the 8-track tape in the late 1970s? CD, cassette tapes, or vinyl record? That was cassette tapes. What was the first successful social networking website launched in 2003? Facebook, MySpace, or Friendster? That was MySpace. Which company released the first commercially available digital camera? Canon, Kodak, or Nikon? Kodak. What were people concerned would happen to computer systems when the year changed from 1999 to 2000? Internet collapse, Y2K bug stroke crash, or data encryption are lost? Yes, the Y2K bug thought everything would crash and nothing happened. What Microsoft operating system was released in 1995? MS-DOS, Windows 95, or Windows 3.1? Windows 95. What company manufactured the popular Commodore 64 home computer? Apple, Atari, or Commodore Business Machines? Commodore Business Machines. What popular toy consisted of two heavy spheres on a string that you would click together? Yo-yo, clackers, or slinky? Clackers, the dread of parents everywhere. Which fashion designer introduced the new look in 1947 with nipped-in waists and full skirts? Coco Chanel, Christian Dior, or Yves Saint Laurent? Christian Dior. What hairstyle was popularised by the Beatles in the early 1960s? Crew cut, pompadour, or mop top? Mop top. What footwear brand became popular in the 1970s featuring wooden soles? Birkenstock, Dr. Scholl's, or Earth shoes? Dr. Scholl's. Which toy became a huge fad in the 1970s and involved a small electronic device that made beeping sounds? Rubik's Cube, Simon, or Speak and Spell? It was Simon. What popular board game involves buying and selling properties and collecting rent? Scrabble, Life, or Monopoly? Monopoly. What dance move did John Travolta make famous in this film Saturday Night Fever? Moonwalk, The Hustle, or The Robot? The Hustle. What popular party appetizer was often served on toothpicks stuck into foil-covered potatoes? Cocktail wieners, deviled eggs, or cheese cubes? Cocktail wieners. Which animated character appeared on lunchboxes with the slogan, "What? Me worry?" Bart Simpson, Alfred E. Newman, or Charlie Brown? Excuse me, Alfred E. Newman. Which European city was divided by a wall from 1961 to 1989? Berlin, Vienna, or Prague? There was a related question earlier on. Were you paying attention? Yes, it was Berlin, which fell in 1989. What is the original name of the most famous Route 66 highway? Will Rogers Highway, Lincoln Highway, or National Road? It was the Will Rogers Highway. Which US state was the last to join the Union before Alaska and Hawaii? Nevada, Arizona, or New Mexico? Arizona. What was the name of the first commercial passenger jet airliner widely used in the 50s and 60s? De Havilland Comet, Douglas DC-8, or Boeing 747? The de Havilland Comet. Which famous monument was given to the United States by France in 1886? Washington Monument, Lincoln Memorial, or Statue of Liberty? Statue of Liberty. Which Californian city experienced a devastating earthquake during the 1989 World Series? Los Angeles, Oakland, or San Francisco? It was San Francisco. Which country was formerly known as Ceylon? Indonesia, Sri Lanka, or Malaysia? That was Sri Lanka. What was the name of the ocean liner that the band played on as it sank in 1912? Britannic, Lusitania, or Titanic? Now the doubled up. Do you remember a question earlier? It was the Titanic in 1912. Which Asian city hosted the 1964 Summer Olympics, the first to be held in Asia? Tokyo, Beijing, or Seoul? It was Tokyo. What was the original name of the Thailand before 1939? Siam, Burma, or Kampuchea? It was Siam. What American coin ceased production for circulation in 2002? Half dollar, silver dollar, or penny? The penny. In what year was the colour television introduced to the American public? 1965, 1940, or 1954? Possibly a lot earlier than you think. 1954. What green vegetable was heavily promoted by Popeye the Sailor Man? Spinach, green beans, or broccoli? All very good for you. But what did he like? It's spinach, by the canful. What kind of animal was the Taco Bell mascot? Chihuahua, donkey, or fox? Excuse me, Chihuahua. What was the first successful credit card? American Express, Diners Club, or Visa? Diners Club. What product used the advertising slogan, "When it rains, it pours"? Umbrella brand, raincoat, or Morton salt? Morton salt. What was the name of the first commercial airline to offer regularly scheduled passenger service? Pan American, DeLag, or British Airways? It was DeLag. What cooking tool was invented by Melvin Melrose in 1953 to cook hamburgers more quickly? Toaster oven, indoor grill, or electric frying pan? The electric frying pan. What was the first feature-length animated release by Disney? Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Pinocchio, or Bambi? Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, with a remake this year, I believe. What breakfast cereal was advertised with the slogan, "They're great"? Frosted Flakes, Cap'n Crunch, or Cheerios? It was Frosted Flakes, those Frosties. So, how did you do today? Drop your score in the comments below, and of course, like and subscribe so you get notified every time we post a new quiz. And join us next time on Quiz Time.